Good evening. We'd like to welcome everyone to the city of Palatka, January 28th, 2021 commission meeting. At this time, we're going to have our invocation by Pastor Alonzo Mulberry, and we're going to ask if Captain Matt Newcomb could lead us in the pledge. Will everyone please stand?
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, we thank you. We give you praise and glory. We give you honor for being who you are. Here we are once again, God, as we come together to do the business of the city. We ask for your divine guidance, for your instruction. You said in all thy ways acknowledge you, and you will direct our path. God, I pray for these men and women that are governing the city. God, that you will give directions, that you will give instructions, that you will give them how to do what needs to be done for the better and the good of the people. Pray, God, that you would touch now that needs to be met everywhere. Work your wonder and work your will, and we'll praise you forever. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Roll call, please.
Mayor Hill,
Here.
Commissioner Campbell, Commissioner Borum,
Present.
Commissioner McCaskill,
Here.
Commissioner Jones. Excused absent.
For the record, we have a quorum and we have one excused absence. Now we'll move to approval of minutes from the January 14th, 2021 meeting. Has everyone had an opportunity to review minutes?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes as they were.
Second.
There's a motion to approve in a second. Is there any in readiness? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Moving on to public recognitions and presentations. At this time, on our public recognition and presentations, we've got Student of the Month for January 2021. Commissioner Borum, you're on with me for today. And for our Student of the Month, Commissioner Borum, you got any comments for me and for our students?
For our students, I'd just like to say, as Vice Mayor Brown used to say, good, better, best, never let it rest till your good is better and your better is best. But myself, I just turn it around a little bit and put good, best, better. Because sometimes when you get to be your best, you tend to get a little bit of complacent. So I just say, just be better at everything that you do. And you guys are our future leaders, and we are to continue to invest in each and every one of you. So shoot for the stars, and even if you miss the stars, you'll land among the moon. So just do your very best at everything you do. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. First up, we want to make sure we recognize our parents, our family members, all the folks who are in the audience today. It takes a village to raise a child. And so if you are in Cyberland right now with our students, we want to give you a round of applause just for the work that you do with our young people. So let's give a round of applause to all our family members, extended folks. Next up are our educators. And so our educators never get enough thank you. They never hear it enough for all the sacrifices that they make. They're underpaid and underappreciated. And we've got a number of folks who are sitting up on the dais today who work as educators as well. And so to our educators who are in Cyberland right now with our students, going through these trying times as we deal with this pandemic, we just want to thank you for your sacrifices and the work that you do with our young people. So let's give a round of applause for them as well. Now we'll move on to our presentation for Student of the Month. Student of the month, you're guaranteed that I will mess up 3 names before it's all done. So if I do, blame it on my head and not my heart. First up, Browning Pierce Elementary School, Jenny Duran Santiago. Next up, CL Overturf Junior, 6th grade center, Kamaya Gilmore. Children's Reading Center Charter School, Macy Williams. E.H. Miller School, Jonathan McDonald. James A. Long Elementary School, Gabriel Aguayo. Jenkins Middle School, Lucas Murray. Kelly Smith Elementary School, Landon Hare. Mellon Elementary School, Alana Brown. Mosley Elementary School, it's got a whole banner. Edgar Martinez. Here's my first, Palatka High School. Kobe Popor. Kobe P. Give it up for Kobe P. I need phonetics. Pinal Baptist Academy, Caleb Baker. Putnam Academy of Arts and Sciences, Mackenzie Guy. And Putnam Edge High School, Raymond Bostic. That concludes our Student of the Month ceremonies. I will leave you with the same thing that we said 40 years ago when I was in 3rd grade in Miss Green's class over at Mosley. And we started every day out the same way. And it says, I am somebody. If my mind can conceive it and my heart can believe it, I know I can achieve it because I am somebody. You students, you're somebody wonderful. You're somebody great. You're destined for greatness. We are so excited about the future of this community because of great leaders like you. Continue to make education be the key to your success and continue to make us all proud. So again, we want to just salute our students and tell them thank you for their hard work during these trying times. Let's give another round of applause for our students. Moving on to proclamations for African American History Month, February. So you're gonna read the proclamation for us, Miss Krantz.
Whereas African American History Month affords special opportunity to become more knowledgeable about African American heritage and to honor the many African American leaders who have contributed to the progress of our nation. And whereas such knowledge can strengthen the insight of all our citizens regarding the issues of human rights, the great strides that have been made in the crusade to eliminate the barriers of equality for minority groups and the continuing struggle against discrimination and poverty. Whereas the story of African Americans is a story of resilience and perseverance, and whereas it traces a people who have refused to accept the circumstances under which they arrived on these shores, and it chronicles the generations who fought for an America that truly reflects the ideals enshrined in our founding documents, and whereas it is the narrative of African American slaves who shepherded others among the path to freedom, of preachers who spoke out against the rules of Jim Crow, of young African Americans who sat in at lunch counters, of ordinary men and women who took extraordinary risks to change our nation for the better, of African American women who were courageous visionaries and led the fight to end slavery, of tenacious activists who fought to expand basic civil rights to all Americans, of literary giants who gave voice to their communities, and of artists whose harmonies and brushstrokes captured hardship and aspiration. And whereas the achievements of African Americans are not limited to those recorded and retold in our history books, their impact is felt in communities where they are quiet heroes who care for their families, in boardrooms where they are leaders of industry, in laboratories where they are discovering new technologies, and in classrooms where they're preparing the next generation for the world they will inherit. Now, therefore, Terrell L. Hill, Mayor of the City of Palatka, together with the members of the Palatka City Commission, do endorse the month of February 2021 as African American History Month in the City of Palatka, and urge all citizens to join together in making this period of rededication to the principle of justice and equality for all people, and to pay tribute to the contributions of past generations and affirm our commitment to keeping the American dream alive for the next generation.
Second.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. And for African American History Month, as we get ready for our next presentation by Vice Mayor Mary Lawson Brown, we want to go ahead and present you with the proclamation because you are truly a historian to this community as well as to NBC Leo. And so we want to go ahead and present this with you as you come up and do your presentation. So we want to give you this. We want to thank you for all your work again and for being the historian for NBC Leo as well. And so again, thank you so much. Next up on the agenda.
Mayor, we also have Pamela Brown on the Zoom conference from the African American Cultural Arts Society.
Okay, Ms. Brown, from Cultural Arts, you got any words for us?
Good evening. I'm Pamela Brown. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, good evening. I'm Pamela Brown, and I serve as the Vice President of the Putnam County African American Cultural Arts Council. And on behalf of our president, Mrs. Kathy Wright, and our members of African American Cultural Arts Council, we would like to say we appreciate your acknowledgement and recognition of African American history. And we just encourage individuals to celebrate our rich heritage and legacy that Black history and African American history gives us. And I would like to say to those young people who were just awarded, history is being made each and every day, and you can be a part of that history. And so you're living history. We just witnessed our vice president, our first female and African American vice president, Mrs. Kamala Harris, and also Senator Raphael Warnock in Georgia, becoming the first African American senator from that area. So with all of this going on, we are a part of these United States, and we can make history just like anyone else can, because I believe that we have some of the best people in the city of Palatka and in Putnam County. So I just encourage everyone to celebrate our rich heritage, and thank you for having me this evening.
You forgot to say Howard University graduate. You forgot to say Howard University graduate.
Oh, Terrell, thank you. Yeah.
No, for Kamala Harris.
I know you would recognize that. Yes, she is a graduate of Howard University.
Yeah.
Yes.
Again, thank you, Ms. Brown, and thank you again to the Putnam County African American Cultural Arts Council for the work that you guys do in this community, and we look forward to some creative festivities for the month of February as it relates to what we're doing in Black History Month. Also, we just want to make sure we continue to carry out the vision of Dr. Carter G. Woodson, a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, and the work that he created from the 40s forward so that we can make sure that we continue to highlight the achievements of African Americans in our country. So again, thank you very much. Next up is our own historian and our own history and legacy of her own. Maybe if I could get, so again, I guess Vice Mayor Emeritus, Mary Lawson Brown. We got to get you to the mic. Can we just drop the mic on the floor for her?
I'm so glad you love me that much. Still crack jokes with me. Before I get to what I want to give my commissioners, I'd like to say that you all have been my second family. You all have been my second family for many, many years. And I would like to thank you all for all of the things that you do. Each one of you has a talent that you can give. And y'all adopted my saying, we're better together. I know that you're gonna continue to work together. But before I get to you, I'd like to thank some other folks. We don't always thank them all the time. Sonny, can you come over here a minute? And would you ask, no, she's here. Sonny, I started, y'all wonder what I do? I've been doing art stuff. And this is a little shadow box. And it's a heart in the back because with all the stuff you have to do, you are the heart of City Hall. And I want you to have that, to have a piece of me around. If you get where you don't know what to do, sit there and think about me and wonder what I do, and maybe you'll get it done. Thank you.
You're about to make Sonny cry. Ms. Brown, you're about to make Sonny cry.
Really? I want my attorney. I have not got to know
Go
her
Gators.
as well. I have not got to know her as well as I would like to, but she got a heck of a job here. It's 5 of y'all. She got to keep from going to jail. And I thought that I would give you some flowers in ahead of time because you're gonna need them, honey. Thank you very much. And I have this one. I have this one, and it's for Logan. And in the inside of it is a pocketbook, a key, a clock, and a pad. She is our treasurer. The pocketbook means she holds the money. The key means she got the key to the bank. The clock means she got the key. And
From Ms.
the
Becker,
pad is how she figures to make sure the budget.
if we see her, we'll
Stay
give
right.
it to her.
All right.
Thank you, Miss Brown. I appreciate it so much.
City manager always mess with you about your office and making sure it looks bright. Well, in this one, each one of these things I make is a little different. I have made some of them out of dead, well, they're not dead, but the leaves are brown. And I said, you have been through hell since you sat in that seat. I gave you a little bit of green to know if the grass is green on the other side if you can get there. And I gave you a piece of gold to tell you there's gold at the end of the rainbow and you are doing a good job, and thank you. And when you get in your office and something come up and you're not sure of it, instead of calling me, look at the picture and think about how good I tell you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Never knew dead flowers could look so good.
Can't make it
I'm
up.
gonna
They're
get you.
flowers.
I've always said how wise I thought all you all were, and that you had made really good decisions when I was sitting there with you. I want you to continue to do it. And I brought you out one of my drawings. I'm not a great artist, but this is what I'm doing with my spare time now. I've done birds for my grandchildren and told them, if something comes up and you're not sure whether you should do it, think about what grandma would say, and that'll get you through it. But you all have heck of decisions to make, and you've gone a heck of a long way. I have a painting for all of you, and my grandson had them put on canvas. If you keep them till I die, you'll probably make some money off them.
Glad it wasn't a buzzard.
Thank you so much, Ms. Brown. I can tell you, I just feel a little offended because she said that we were her second family, but I never felt like I was part of your second family. You make me feel just like I was one of your own. So,
I tried it, thank you.
thank
But
you.
you know, you got to live in the house, so I can't.
So, yeah, I
My
got.
daughter will remind me, you do have a family. And then I have y'all, and then my daughter.
Oh, we come before the,
Yeah, y'all come.
oh, we're special guys. We come before the dogs. Now I feel a little bit more special.
And I want to thank you all for my courteous, when I was young and couldn't get around. Y'all saw I got the place and certainly I did so. Thank you.
I promise I didn't do anything.
And for everybody in Cyberland, you can get these items at E.W. Lawson and Son Funeral Home. They will be on sale, as well as this is the prelude for the Seniors Art Festival that will start as soon as COVID stops. So again, just another talent that we get from Ms. Brown. I am very happy it's not a buzzer. And it's a wise old owl. And so again, thanks a lot. Ms. Brown, thank you for all that you do. And thank you for having a little time during your retirement to do some other things that are enjoyable for you. Moving on. We're now moving to public comments. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. No action will be taken on topics of discussion. Anyone here for public comment, please dial 329-0100 or use the YouTube chat function. We'll now open the floor for public comment. Is there anyone here for public comment? The number is 386-329-0100, extension 0. Do we have anything in YouTube chat?
Nothing in the chat at this time, Mayor.
Seeing nothing in the chat, we'll close public comment. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Just for the record, their consent agenda consists of items A through L. We are pulling items F through G, and they will come back to you at a later date. We don't have the amendments to those contracts. So are there any items on the consent agenda that you wish to have removed at this time? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to accept all items on the consent agenda except items F through G.
Second.
Motion on the floor in a second. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Questions called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item 6 of the agenda is our public hearing. Under item A, ordinance 2021-0, amending Article 5, Division 1, generally section 2-281, definitions and sections 2-283, jurisdiction of the municipal code, the city of Palatka as it pertains to code enforcement, providing for conflict, providing for severability, providing for an effective date, providing for correction and scrivener's errors. First reading, caption please. Six.
An ordinance of the city of Palatka amending Article 5, Division 1, generally, Section 2-281, definitions, and Section 2-283, jurisdiction of the municipal code of the city of Palatka as it pertains to code enforcement, providing for conflict, providing for severability, providing for correction of scrivener's errors, and providing for effective date.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Commissioner Campbell, second by Commissioner McCaskill. Now open the floor for public hearing. Is there anyone here for public hearing? The number is 386-329-0100. Extension 0 or YouTube chat. 386-329-0100. Extension 0. There are no calls. Do we have anything in YouTube chat?
Nothing in the chat at this time, Mayor.
We'll close public hearing. Is there any further discussion from the commission?
Question.
Questions called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Moving on to our report for design update for St. John's Avenue streetscape. Mr. Chris Saluski, Ayers and Associates. Do I have you with us, sir? We'll go to.
Yes, sir. I'm right here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Give me 1 second. We're going to change your view. We'll try to get you on the screen.
Okay. I've got spotty internet service, so I'm going to keep my video down so you guys don't have to see my ugly mug. But I do have some graphics I can share with the group.
Okay, we're ready for you.
All right. Jonathan, you're here as well, right? I can't see the windows at the top. I just want to make sure.
Chris, if you need me.
Okay, sounds good. So today we've got 3 topics that we're going to go through. We're going to take it one by one, so you guys don't have to decide on them all at one time. And then we'll approve essentially the packet at the end. So I'm going to go through a topic of the stop signs on St. John's Ave, parking stall dimensions on St. John's Ave, and angled parking on the side streets. And I'd like to open those up to a vote at the end of each one of those discussions so we don't lose track of each individual topic. But before I dive into each one of those, I just want to take a step back for a second and talk through the project just to bring everyone up to speed again. So the project is 9 blocks in streetscape improvements along St. John's Ave, which include the addition of bump outs along St. John's Ave, new crosswalks, new sidewalks, new amenities, new trees. So it's really a facelift for St. John's Ave, the entire length. Previously, we had done some public engagement. Most recently, I was in Palatka doing some additional engagement with the community, meeting with a bunch of community members and getting some additional feedback about the concern over loss of parking stalls. Since then, I've met with a variety of different members, both business owners, both in person, virtually, and via calls. And I feel like we've got a really good understanding that there is no reduction in parking stalls along St. John's Ave proposed. There is just a freshening up of St. John's Ave. So now that I've got everyone kind of up to speed as to what the project is, I'd like to dive into the first topic. So share my screen really quick. As long as I can have that function. All right, can everyone see the site plan on my screen right now, correct?
Yes.
Awesome. So the first topic is the potential of adding existing stop signs along St. John's Ave. So within these 9 blocks, we have signals and we have 2-way stops. There are no 4-way stop signs. Currently, with the streetscape improvements we're proposing, FDOT has certain requirements for site visibility, and your current layout does not meet those requirements. So there's a couple of options on how we can meet those requirements, and I'll show you the repercussions here in just a second. But broadly, those two repercussions are lengthening the bump outs or making it 4-way stops. So at each intersection where there are 2 stop signs, with these proposed improvements, to meet FDOT requirements, we would have to lengthen the bump outs at those intersections and reduce the number of parking stalls at each one of those intersections to the tune of 8 per intersection. So a total of about 28 parking stalls would be lost along St. John's Ave with just keeping 2-way stops. So one way to avoid this is to convert those 2-way stops to 4-way stop signs, which would allow us to shorten those bump outs and not have any reduction in parking stalls. This is due to FDOT's requirements for site visibility for vehicles, so they can clearly see oncoming traffic at a 2-way stop. So before we dive into the next topic, do you have any questions about that? And I'd like to open it up to a vote as well on this one particular.
So my question is that at every intersection? So we're is that just about which street specifically are we talking about?
Yeah, let me bring that one back up. So this is only the intersections where there are 2-way stops. So it would be 5th, 8th, 10th, and 13th. So I'm circling it with my cursor right here. And that's the 10th intersection and then 13th. all the signalized intersections where you've got a light, those can remain the same. Those can have the smaller bump outs.
Any comments from the commission?
Mayor, if I could add something real quick.
Yes.
So,
Go ahead.
Chris, if you could move back to the illustrative rendering. As you can see here, it's rendered to show an intersection treatment. Back to the other slide you're on. There you go, Chris. Thank you. You keep flipping back and forth. Anyways,
sorry.
The intersection treatment is in keeping with what you would see at 3rd, 2nd, and 1st Street, which gives the implication with the brick crosswalk and the concrete ribbon curb to the motorist that it is a 4-way stop. As you're aware or maybe aware, we did this intersection treatment at 2nd Street a while back and ultimately decided to make it a 4-way stop because the motorists were treating it as such. This is a more pedestrian friendly treatment. And as Chris mentioned, this would comply with DOT standards, which the city adopted DOT standards sometime back.
Right. And I guess to add to that, my biggest concern is that we don't want to eliminate 28 parking spots. We got an opportunity to keep those parking spots in place. My recommendation to the commission is that, we look at trying to keep those parking spots. And so I would be in favor of the 4-way stops. And it also creates an opportunity for us to get, I think, increased opportunities for, for traffic to be slower and for folks to actually come out and create more walking zones. Any other thoughts from the commission about whether we want to increase, our islands or do we want to maintain the parking spaces and go with 4-way stops on those 4 or 5 intersections?
And like we said, if we maintain the 4-way stop signs, we'll increase, but if we don't, we'll lose 28 parking spaces, right?
Right.
Yeah. So
That's correct. Yep.
I'll go with the recommendation. I guess if we're voting on it, put a motion for us to go ahead and go with the 4-way stops and then increase so that we can increase the parking spaces. Recommendation.
Commissioner Board or Commissioner Campbell?
I second what Commissioner McCaskill has stated.
Commissioner Board?
Just so we're clear here, one quick thing to
That's
interject
the
there.
recommendation, right?
Go ahead.
Just one quick thing. If we add 4-way stops, it's not increasing the number of parking stalls. It will be maintaining the number of parking stalls. So there will be no
Maintain.
decrease in parking stalls.
Oh, okay.
But not losing the
parking spaces.
28, right?
Right. So
Correct.
we would lose
Correct.
28 existing spaces based on what, if we were to, in order to comply with DOT standards. So,
Correct. Yep.
Commissioner Board?
I'm going with the recommendation.
All right, so I'll entertain that in form of motion so that we can make sure it's clear for Mr. Saluski. Is that a motion?
No, I was.
So, I know we've already got it. Recommendation, Commissioner Campbell, you said you were in favor as well, right?
Yeah.
Will somebody please make a motion for me so we'll have it on the record?
We'll make a motion to maintain the current space that we have.
All right, there's a motion to maintain the current parking allocations we have and to go with the 4-way stops.
I'll second.
There's a second by Commissioner Campbell. Is there any unreadiness?
Question?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Okay, got that one. Mr. Saluski. It's on
All
you.
right. So next topic. All right. Next topic we need to discuss is the length of parking stalls along St. John's Ave. And getting the survey and looking at the aerials and pulling some quick dimensions. The parking stalls are inconsistent from 4th Street to 13th Street. They vary anywhere from 20 feet to 28 feet. They're really kind of all over the place. We're proposing to standardize those to the same dimension you have for parking stalls from 3rd to 2nd and 1st, which is 22 feet. This is actually industry standard for parallel parking and 2 feet above the actual minimum for parallel parking stalls dimensions. This would allow us to as well increase the bump out sizes along St. John's Ave, which will lead to reduced vehicle speeds and increased tree sizes.
And how many more spaces?
So to
How many more
recap
spaces?
that real quick. we will maintain, they vary so much. It's really a wash. It will maintain the number of parking stalls. I don't know. I'd have to, once we dive into the actual layout of the entire streetscape, I will know whether we're able to gain 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 here or there. But for the most part, it will be a wash. It'll allow us to maintain for the most part.
And
So it's really about to standardize the parking stall lengths to 22 feet along St. John's Ave from 4th to 13th Street.
and the minimum is 20 feet. That's the minimum for the standard.
Mayor, our
Yep.
code actually says
22.
minimum is 20 feet, so we'll be in excess of our municipal code.
Okay. And so would we gain any additional spaces if we went to 20 feet?
Possibly, but
I
would
cannot
advise
say.
it.
Yeah.
So you can't say affirmatively whether
I would 22. My recommendation would be to go to 22 feet and stay away from doing 20 feet. 20 feet is really tight.
Okay. Anything from the commission?
No, I'm good.
We got a motion?
Motion to approve?
Motion to accept recommendation for 22 feet. Is there a second?
Second.
Second on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. All right. Mr. Salewski.
All right. So the third item is probably the more complicated one. So if there are some questions, I'll do my best to answer. As part of the intersection improvements from 4th to 13th, we have to add bump outs at those intersections, which include bump outs on the side streets. If you remember previously, one study we looked at was how we can increase the number of parking stalls downtown by looking at angled parking on those side streets. In looking at it, we determined there was roughly about a 10% gain in parking stalls across from 4th to 13th Street. So that's the number of parking stalls that would be added by changing to angled parking. What we need direction on now is whether in the future we want to do angled parking, because that affects the bump outs at the main intersections on St. John's Ave and how those lay out.
What's your recommendation so far?
If angled parking, hang on one sec. If angled parking is proposed, there are some challenges, or if angled parking is accepted, there are some challenges in the future with vehicle circulation. So it is essentially one-way parking stalls. So people coming, in this example, people coming from this direction are the ones that can pull into a parking stall. People going the north direction have to loop back around the block to come down on another angle to try to get into a parking stall.
So there are some safety concerns. I
So-
see. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. That is exactly right. So there are some safety concerns with non-clean pulling in and pulling out, and there are some blind spots when backing up in angled parking, just as a heads up. And then Jonathan, can you give me an update? I had notes on it, but I can't seem to find it. Those side streets are proposed for improvements. Can you give me an update on the time frame for those?
Yeah, and I want to say a few more things, Chris. Thank you. So commissioners, as Chris stated, this is important because it does affect the design at the intersections now, and we would need to take that into account. But it's also important for staff to know what direction we're headed, because as you're all aware, we do have some much larger potable replacement projects occurring in the side streets in the next couple of years. And we'll most likely seek to reconstruct those streets at the same time, taking advantage of that construction. So we would like to know now, as we work it into the engineering and design of those projects. As Chris stated, there are some safety concerns, and just to go over one or two of those. The first is, and most of these can be mitigated with specific design elements. As you park near an intersection, you will most likely not have a angled space near that intersection. So there's adequate stacking distance for a vehicle turning off of the crossing road, because as Chris stated, there are blind spots for the individual that's backing up. If you've visited places like Mount Dora or Gainesville, you have seen angled parking. It does work. It works in downtown environments where the intent is to slow the motorist down and it's more of a pedestrian environment. So, you know, if that is the route you want to go, this would be a design element that would support that goal. I am in favor of it just because I believe that parking will be a serious problem in the coming years. The roads that we know that we can do this on right now are 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Obviously, we would not be proposing this on 9th Street, which is State Road 20, DOT right away. We wouldn't be proposing it on 3rd Street, nor on 2nd or 1st. But those roads do have adequate right-of-way to get angle parking on one side and still allow for wider sidewalks on both sides.
Any questions from the commission? Seeing no questions, is there a motion?
Motion to approve,
Motion to-
as that's what staff recommended, right?
Motion to accept staff's recommendation by Commissioner Board. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a second by Commissioner McCaskill. Is there any further discussion? Questions called. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Very well, gentlemen. Any other concerns or anything that we need to address at this point?
Just a comment. We had a meeting the other day. Chris has done a great job of public outreach and really reaching out to the business owners and kind of talking through the project. Ultimately, we will have another round of public outreach once we get ready to turn dirt. There's going to be a lot of coordination. We're going to have to really execute this project in a different manner than we have done with some in the past. So we'll be back in front of you at that time to get approval on that plan.
So I've got something that I wanted to kind of toss around with the commission as well. And I think in light of the circumstances that we have in this community as it relates to some of the things on St. John's Avenue, in particular, one object, I think we find ourselves where the community is in a major divide. And one of the thoughts that I tossed around was on the idea of right in front of the courthouse, putting a mural up which says "Better Together," kind of like what was done in DC, but something that says "Better Together," which signifies that we are unifying the community and allowing our local organizations to kind of almost in a lottery form, be able to come in and design a mural inside of that on the street for where they do a letter, where each group gets a letter. So let's say, for example, one nonprofit does the B, and inside of that, they can put in anything that's a unifying measure, and it has to be something that's vetted by the city as to what the design is and put there. And so it's just symbolic, no different than looking at kind of the painted intersection that you had in St. Petersburg. It's on the bottom left picture, but it would be something that signifies unity within this community.
Mayor, if that's the will of the commission, that's definitely something that we could explore and incorporate into the design.
And that's something I wanted to ask the commission if that was something that, they would be open to.
I'm open to it. I mean, I think it's anything to help to unify the community. I mean, that's what it's all about.
And maybe we could do, we could get like maybe some kind of illustration that kind of just shows that in kind of a symbolic form. And that's on 4th to 5th Street.
I like the idea.
I do as well.
So,
Mr.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if my opinion matters, but I really love the idea. I think it's a great idea.
So, I guess by way of motion, there's something that we can add to.
I'll make a motion that we move forward with the recommendation of the mayor to implement a design of We Are Better Together along 4th and 5th Street, I do believe.
Yes, sir.
Second.
Motion on the floor in a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. So, Mr. Saluski, you think that's something that maybe you can give us a depiction of, kind of in a simplified form?
Absolutely. So we'll get something rendered up and send over a few examples. Jonathan will work with you on how to best present that, okay?
Definitely, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Is there anything else that you have to present?
That is it. That's all I've got.
And so again, we want to thank you for the work that you're doing on this project, the considerations that are going forward, and we're really excited about what's coming.
We are too. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Moving the agenda. Next up is commission direction on reevaluating reopening. Mr. Holmes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you'll look in your packet, you'll see some guidelines that I've drafted. I told you at the last meeting that I would come back to you this meeting with at least a blueprint or outline of guidelines that we might implement, depending upon, of course, your wishes and your thoughts about the guidelines, as a means of starting to reissue special event permits. I have done that in 7 numbered paragraphs. I believe that the guidelines are self-explanatory, but as you know, we at some time in 2020 essentially stopped issuing special event permits. You agreed to re-examine that issue on a month-to-month basis. And ultimately then we said we would not issue them through January, or at least until January. At a meeting most recently, we agreed to issue one to the Bassmasters Elite because they had, I believe it's BASS, and I believe it's the Elite tournament, because they had provided us with a plan that had some very specific safeguards in it that looked workable. And it appeared as though that might be a way of our running a top trial balloon up to see if perhaps we could use that as a template for our own reopenings of other events. So what I've got in front of you is, it does take from some of the ideas in the Bass safety plan. I can go over them item by item, or you can read them and reserve any kind of an opinion until next month or our next meeting, whatever is your pleasure. But this is at least a starting point for us attempting to evaluate special event permits, with emphasis on still attempting to observe COVID safeguards, as I think the city has tried to do from the beginning of this pandemic. So without that, or without anything further, I'll allow you to tell me how you'd like us to proceed, and we'll go from there.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the commission at this point? Do you want to go through the document, or do you have any specific questions that you have as it relates to the 7 paragraphs within the document?
I prefer to go through the document and have some time to think about it. And
all right, let's just kind of go through it and just kind of push through each one of the points so that we can have the discussions on it as we go. And so just for clarity. So
all right.
Mr. Holmes.
All right, so the first item is, and this would be the inquiry that staff would make in evaluating any application for special event. And the first item is going to be, is it possible or practical to limit attendance to a predetermined number of people? One of the things that struck me about the Bass proposition was they took the area where they were going to have spectators, measured it, agreed to basically rope it off or limit access to it, and then determine how many people could fit in that area and observe the 6-foot social distance CDC guideline that has been promulgated. So obviously that is not going to lend itself to all sorts of events. A parade would be almost impossible to do that with. But on the other hand, an event like Bassmasters or a concert or perhaps even the Porch Fest might be possible to do that. So the first criteria was, can you limit the number of people who are going to attend to a predetermined number, with that number being based on what social distancing will allow. As subparts to that, we've seen the concept develop of allowing seating or providing seating in a pod concept, with the recognition that a lot of people who come to events come in twos, or they may come in fours. That pod or that group of 2 or 4 is already in contact with each other. So it can make sense to have seating along those lines, pod seating of 2 or 4, which will allow greater separation between that pod and the next pod of seats. So that was an adjunct to that. The plan that people could submit could be encouraged that they consider that pod type seating, and then if that is something that's submitted, it would get preference over, and maybe even we would make this an absolute threshold. If you couldn't live in attendance and if we couldn't assure social distancing, then basically we wouldn't consider the permit, or we wouldn't grant the permit. So I can stop there, or I can go through all 7, whichever you prefer.
Let's run through each one, and we'll kind of do it in an abbreviated fashion, just kind of touching on the crux of each one, so
Great.
that if there are any questions, the commission can stop you during the presentation.
Great. So item 2 is masks. We'd be requiring masks for sponsors, staff, and attendees, subject to the exceptions which CDC has recognized. That's people with health issues and children under a certain age. You, the commission, would decide when you set policy, or when you tell us how to move forward with these special events, whether you want to allow an exception to mask wearing for events held entirely outside where social distancing can be or will be observed. And then in the application, the applicant would indicate a willingness to comply with and enforce this condition, because it isn't going to be a secret that we're going to depend upon the applicants to essentially honor their representations in these applications. Now, Mr. Cutright and I have discussed what would happen if they didn't. Obviously, it's possible that you might try to go out and revoke a permit, but that's going to not be practical in most scenarios. But what we would propose is, in the application would state that if a sponsor or an applicant is granted a permit and then they violate the terms under which the permit is issued, masking, social distancing, or whatever, basically that would be noted the next time they applied for a permit, and it might be subject a disqualifying factor. So masking would be the second item or criteria. 3, and again, these are the blueprint. You can knock out a wall wherever you see fit, but some form of health screening. That health screening might be thermometers, temperature check when people enter the arena. It might be answering questions regarding recent exposure or threshold symptoms. And then the permit would require that people either with a temperature exceeding a certain level, or who have exhibited symptoms or been exposed recently, that they not be allowed entrance. 4, provisions for hand sanitizer and hand washing should be provided. Obviously, the extent of that would depend upon the nature of the event. If food's going to be served, if there are bathroom facilities required or involved, then the degree of that hand sanitizer and hand washing and the provisions for those, the accommodations for those would be upped. But otherwise, it could be either in the nature of hand sanitizing stations, or it could be handing out small bottles of hand sanitizer.
Okay. So if food's going to be served, most of the venues that I've seen that are selling food and that are open up during this time, they're requiring that there be some marking in place to show 6 feet in distance for the people that are waiting in line. And so I think that may be one of the things that we want to add to that. The other thing is, when you asked about the masking for the events, I think I wanted to kind of gauge the commission to find out if they wanted to mandate masking for the outside events, because we saw people like Bass actually doing that in most cases. And so I know that social distancing is one of the things there. Even if you look at our mask ordinance, it talks about if you're able to social distance, doing certain things. But I think, with what we've got, the uptick in COVID, the uptick in deaths in this community, we may have to sit back and wonder, and look at what we're doing. Is there a recommendation from staff as to whether we should do masking at the events, or outdoor events, at least I think we should require masking in the seating areas, if nothing else. But I want to know like what the commission's thought is.
I strongly encourage the mask where people cannot be, 6 feet, from anybody else. I mean, if you can be within a safe distance, but with so many people in an area, again, we have the wind, we have where it just things can it's airborne. I mean, it could be airborne. So I would say I would strongly encourage face masks for protection, at least.
I too would recommend that we.
Mic's not on.
Yes, it is. Can you hear me now? It's on.
Okay.
I wholeheartedly agree with the attorney, Commissioner Borum, not to belabor or extend. So I agree with what he said.
Yeah. So, and I'll say this: in events that we've seen, even events that have not necessarily been authorized, for example, even in like a lot in the protests or one of those things where people were required to wear a mask or encouraged to wear a mask, we didn't see the uptick in COVID cases as we do in some of these other events where there are no controls. So I'm all in favor of masking at these special events, because I think if we're going to go the step of trying to open things up, I think masking at least gives us some protection that we know we're going to help protect people against people. And, we know we won't get 100% compliance. We know there's been some preemption that's been put in place, but I think it encourages us overall to kind of, as we move forward, to see where we are. And once we get to a point where there's higher numbers of vaccinations and some of these other things in place, then we can always come back and revisit way we put it in place. But I think that, for what we've got, if we're going to bring large numbers of people together, or even clusters of people together, it may behoove us at this point, considering the virus is becoming more aggressive, to require some masking initially and see how that works.
Okay, so I'm going to take that as an indication that we don't want to make an exception for outside events with social distancing. We'll make the mask mandate universal with our special event permit. Is that correct?
Right. Let's look at it. Let's start out with, and I think it's the sentiment of the commission to start out with masking, and then we'll review it and see if there's, from contact tracing or anything else, if there's any uptick or any correlation between having the event period and what goes in place with the precaution in place.
All right. Well, then 5 is suggestion that either the sponsor of the event or the city consider buying signage that would be used at every special event. The signage would remind of the need to wear a mask, remind of the need for social distancing, remind of the need for hand washing and sanitization. I understand that that's not magic, but sometimes reminding people is a way of gaining a little bit of compliance. So that's a recommendation.
I like that. I think we need to recommend certain examples of signage to them as well, and require them to have signage in place, including just like we're doing with the food.
Okay.
Mayor, can we also maybe have whoever's coordinating the event or whatever kind of periodically just announce it. If they have any amplified sound, maybe announce it periodically to kind of help with different things or whatever. So.
Right. And so I think that's a good idea as well. And so if there's amplified sound, encourage the commercial promoters of the events to continually make public service announcements.
Okay, then I'll add that. And then lastly, number 6 is that if there's going to be any indoor component of the event, and that could be even a tent or temporary structure of some sort, that the occupancy be established based on one formula or another. I've already told you that Bass basically imagined a 6-foot circle, 6-foot diameter around every, with the person being in the middle of the circle. And they basically made calculations of capacity based upon that. That may be too complicated. I don't know, depending upon, the event, but one way or another, establishing a capacity of even temporary structures like tents so that we could try to encourage or discourage the crowd, the close contact that sometimes comes with some of these events. So that, and then then the last item was guidelines set for the above will probably make it practically impossible to issue permits for events which will involve advertising of the event, which is designed to attract large numbers of attendees. And kind of that speaks for itself. So my suggestion was to prohibit that advertising. And I understand some of this is maybe going to be considered a bit offensive to some of the event promoters, but it's kind of hard to have regional advertising for an event and then say we're going to limit it to a specified number of people based upon the size of the venue. So that was my suggestion. One of the Class A designation or one of the Class A attributes is that it involves regional advertising or advertising outside the area. And so that was my thought. But if that's considered too much, then as I said, this was designed to be a blueprint. If you like it, then we can put it in place. If you want to tweak it, then that's great. But give us some consistent standards to apply.
Right. I think on number 7, we're going to get into some level of ambiguity with what we got right now. I understand the concept, but I think what we got to do is kind of define regional advertising as opposed to local advertising or within the county, or at least because you're going to get into kind of that level of being a bit vague as to how it's set up. So we may need to put a definition in there. I understand the spirit of what you're trying to do, but I think we probably need to work through the language just a little bit to make sure that we don't find ourselves in a situation where folks start to kind of challenge and say, oh, we're similarly situated to, for example, to Porch Fest, and we allowed them to put advertisement out, or we allowed someone to come in and do a certain program, but we were prohibited from doing certain things. I think we can do that. And I think the other part is for some of the special events where they actually get money from TDC, part of it is the part of the fundings with advertising. But I think we can be creative in getting that done. And that may be just a matter of having a bit more collaboration with the chamber, with TDC, and also with council, and maybe kind of putting all that stuff together, putting a couple heads in to make sure.
Well taken. So right now we'll go ahead and not implement that, but we may work on a little bit of language to run by you later on.
Something that gives like a Class A limitation. Right now saying, hey, we're not gonna, if it's a Class A event, we're not doing we may be saying we're not doing a Class A event at this point.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
So that's what I had. As I said, it intended to be a work in process. So if you want to add to it, take away from it, scrap it all together, reject it, accept it, whatever your pleasure is.
Well, I think that what we've got in place, I think it's a great job on that. I definitely think it's been a collaboration between you and all our special events team, as well as community affairs. And so I think it's a wonderful, I definitely think it's a wonderful starting point for where we are. At this point, I think the commission has given input as to where we're going. Number 7 seems to be the only place that we're gonna put some additional language. And I would encourage the commission at this point to adopt it so that we can start to move forward.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt a reopening plan that the staff has put in place.
Second.
With the amendments, with the amendments that we just discussed.
Second.
Motion on the floor and a second by Commissioner Boer and seconded by Commissioner Campbell. Is there any further discussion on the motion?
Question.
Questions called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Great job to the staff. Great job, Mr. Holmes, on this, and great job, Mr. Cutright, as well. Citizens will be glad to at least have some framework which allows us to do some other things, and also we can start to create at least some additional opportunities within the city and get back to normalcy. And so I think that's done with care and with consideration. And so I'm excited just to see where we are. Next up is ranking of our fiscal year 2021-22 appropriations requests. Mr. Tucker, Mr. Griffith is doing that.
Mr. Holmes, you want me to take this?
Well, yes, especially since Sunny muted me. I think she's been wanting to do that for a long time and she got her chance.
Commissioners, as you see in your packet, we did make a change to this based upon a recent conversation that we had with our lobbyist, Lisa Hurley. Similar to what we explained to you before, that we think this is going to be a tough year. She did confirm that, but she did say presenting a project of regional benefit. That's why we have a sewer component to the project that's before you now, and I'll get into the details in a minute. We also have included a project that we believe is scalable, so that if we do get a call saying we want to fund your project, but we can't fund it to the tune of 1.9 million, what can you do? This potable line replacement and this sewer line replacement project is scalable. We do have some matching funds that we are contributing to this. So if they came back with a smaller appropriation, we would be able to make this happen. What this project is, the number one appropriation request that we're presenting to you for your consideration, is the replacement of approximately 9,500 linear feet of potable pipe and 9,500 linear feet of sewer main lining and some manhole lining as well. We've identified this as citywide. We need the flexibility to be able to identify those locations over the next year. As you're aware, we did receive the funding from DEO, which will fund the engineering and TVing of the sewer lines. So again, this is a change from what we originally presented to you. The new number one project is a potable and sanitary sewer complete street improvements project to the tune of 1.9 million. And if you got some specific questions, I'd be glad to try and address them.
Just for clarity for the commission, the way you got the project listed is the way you have them ranked.
I'm sorry, sir, I couldn't hear you.
The way you have the projects listed, just for clarity for the commission, is that's the way you're proposing the ranking?
Yes, sir. And I think we got direction back from Lisa that they really just want us to submit one project right now. So the rest of these will be on standby for a future year, I guess.
And so any questions from the commission or any thoughts at this point?
No, they all look like they're very, everything that we need. And if they rank them, I mean, I'm good with the ranking.
And so, is there one particular project that you, and I think potable expansion is what we're looking at as our primary project, right, Mr. Griffith?
No, this was a combination of potable mainline replacement and sewer lining in the existing city.
On number one, and then we would use the potable expansion as the number two project if.
Yes, and that potable expansion project, sir, we have already submitted that to DEO on one occasion, and we plan to submit it to the Water Management District as well.
Right. And we'll scale it down and try to get additional funding from various places on that one. So is that okay with the commission for us to move forward? With 1 and 3 being the primaries?
Yes, thumbs
Looks
up.
good to me.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
By way of motion, somebody for me?
Motion to approve the project 1 and 3 moving forward.
There's a motion to approve projects 1 and 3 for submission in any scalable form necessary. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Okay, Mr. Griffith, we're looking forward for this session. And to the commission, we just encourage you. We got an opportunity. I think Ms. Tucker and Mr. Griffith got an opportunity to spend time with Lisa Hurley and myself as we went to Tallahassee this year. And I know we always go with the league. If you find any time, I can tell you it's we can go. We just need to have our faces there as much as we can. So whatever we can do to get FaceTime with everyone, you know, we all have relationships now, I think, with people from various communities. Let's just try to get there and see if we can get some meetings set up, even if it's by Zoom. So we're excited. I think that was very critical in us getting that $3.5 million for the wastewater treatment plant. And so, you know, people always question our travel, but I think the travel really presents itself when you see the results. And so I think that by this commission being really committed, as it has been in the past, to getting FaceTime in Tallahassee, different agencies as well as our state reps and our senators have got an opportunity to truly see Palatka. And so I'm excited. And again, thank you to Mr. Holmes, Jonathan, Mandy, and all our department heads for the work that you did in making sure that we had some appropriations requests to be considered. So again, thanks a lot. Anything from the commission at this point?
Just regarding this.
Yeah, on this item.
Oh, I mean, I just want to thank the staff for the well thought out prioritization of our city needs and ranking them, and then having us to come back in and kind of have some input as it relates to what we need to move forward on. Again, we've been working on projects for quite some time now, and like again, see here, Mayor, I brought that 2020, and then we marked that off. So we're constantly moving on. So that's a big nugget, and so I want to just thank the staff for all of the great work that they've been doing throughout the whole time since 2015. They've been just knocking things out of the park. So
you can mark 1, 2. You can mark them all up. You can mark 2 with the potable as well.
oh yeah, we make good progress.
And we've now got the feasibility on 4. So all those things gonna work in hand.
Yeah, and as long as we can continue to check things off, we know we see progress and moving forward. And
Absolutely.
just want to thank staff for the great job that you guys are doing.
Definitely. And thank you for the scramble on that last piece on number 1 and combining those 2 projects together. That was it was an 11th hour change. I think that's going to be fruitful. And so moving forward, Mr. Holmes, your report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I too want to extend my thanks to Jonathan and Mandy. As the mayor indicated, we had a conference call with Ms. Hurley, Monday or Tuesday this week, Monday, I guess. And she sort of gave us the lay of the land, made some recommendations, and Jonathan and Mandy went to work and modified our listing and the supporting documents as necessary to put something in a format that she felt was going to be most likely to get favorable consideration on short notice. So I also want to extend my thanks to them in that regard. Moving forward, I know that there's been a lot of inquiry about code enforcement. I want to report to you so that you'll be aware that we have in fact been diligently working on putting together and preparing ourselves for an efficient and productive code enforcement process. No, it seems like a long time, but there's been a lot to put together, and the pandemic hasn't helped, and the absence of schooling or schools that would allow us to certify code enforcement officers hasn't helped either. But having said all that, you approved tonight an ordinance modification that will allow us to utilize the services of a special master. On second reading, if you pass that, a special master that is for hearing of code enforcement matters, if you pass that on second reading at the same hearing or the same meeting next month, you will also have a contract for review with a special master. It's the same special master the county uses, Ron Brown, who's an attorney, a longstanding attorney who handles the county of Putnam's code enforcement hearings. And he will be prepared to move forward with our first hearing on the 3rd Tuesday of February. He'll be doing our hearings the afternoons of the day when he does the county hearings. Our code enforcement department is, in my opinion, they're really coming up to speed well. Give a lot of thanks to Mr. Cutright, David Green, who's our code enforcement officer, and also Ms. Hughes. We had a mock hearing or trial run, so to speak, of our first matters to be presented to the code enforcement magistrate last week, or this week, I'm sorry. There will be another trial run next week with the magistrate himself, who's graciously agreed to basically conduct a, as the mayor would refer to it, a moot court, so to speak, where it's the same cases that'll be presented at the actual hearing on the third Tuesday of the month, but it's a dry run so that our staff can become familiar with the process of dealing with the magistrate and presenting the cases. So we've already started. Obviously we have to take baby steps, but we will have 7 cases to present at that first hearing, I believe. And then from there, it's our intent to try to perfect the process and keep moving forward. So I'll first advise you of that. If you have any questions, I'll answer them. Otherwise, I'll move to item number 2.
Any questions from the commission?
No, I just want to thank them for putting this in place. I know it took quite some time to get things moving because of all of the different pieces related to that. But I just want to thank the staff for putting that together so we can get our city aesthetics back.
I neglected to thank Ms. Val, and I apologize for that. Ms. Val also has been an integral part. And at the first hearing, Ms. Val, our city attorney, and myself will be present at the hearing to assist Mr. Cutright and staff. And like I said, from what I've seen so far, I have reason for great optimism that our department will be functioning and efficient.
And council's done a good job on the dais pretending to be the magistrate.
Yeah, she likes to give orders. Just an update. We'll be installing plexiglass dividers between each of the seats on the dais. We should have them in place by your next meeting. I don't know if Jonathan's gotten to yet, but right now we're looking at a 3-foot tall divider that would extend forward a little bit from the face of the dais and then backwards beyond your chair. And we're going to check that 3 feet. I think Jonathan's going to try to measure somebody in there. Mr. Jones isn't here. I think he's probably our tallest commissioner, but we're going to look and see if 3 feet will do it. We've ordered brackets and we plan on getting those in place by your next meeting. Any question about that? Or
No, sir.
No,
Thank you.
Thank you. Just excited that we're moving forward and ensure the safety of all of us here in this commission room. Thank you.
certainly do our best.
Our senior commissioner, Borum, agrees as well. He's now the oldest.
He go.
And then if you have any other suggestions about what we can do with our existing facilities or anything of that nature, please let me know. And we'll try to implement it. And then finally, I wanted to mention to you, I've tried to keep you updated by email, but I want to make sure you understand that we are aware some issues and complaints have been brought to my attention regarding the cemetery. I met with Sean Ladd and Justin Bridges and Jermaine Douglas. We arrived at some what we think will be corrective measures. We are also scheduling a meeting with the funeral home directors we'll invite them, the funeral home directors in our area that utilize our cemeteries, as well as the monument salespeople, so that we can try to alert them to some of the issues that we're facing that we think they might help us with, and they can alert us to some of the issues that we think they think maybe we should be addressing. And we're going to try to put some policies in place, including having the rules available at each of the entrances to the cemeteries, having a cemetery map on site that is available in our secure area, and then taking some other steps, putting a dumpster in an aesthetically pleasing location so that it's easier for people who wish to dispose of rubbish, trash, and other things at the cemetery that they might want to in cleaning a gravesite. So put that email out. If any of you have questions, suggestions, or additions to that, let me know. Otherwise, we're going to be moving forward with the meeting. I've already sounded out a couple of funeral home directors. They seem very anxious to participate. So hopefully that'll result in an improvement as well. Have any questions about that?
No, sir.
No, thank you.
Not at all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
Thank
so
you,
much
sir.
for that.
Yes.
And with that, Mr. Bear, I have nothing further.
Got anything from our department heads? Chief Taylor, got anything for us?
Yes, sir. I'd really like to have a big shout out for Jermaine Douglas, who helped us on a dumpster fire today. took us about an hour and a half to unload it and get all the fire put out. So that was a huge help, and we really appreciate his work. Also, just as an update, we've got a few guys going to classes now. This should help us with our ISO. They're getting training so they can start doing live burn training. So that's going to be great for our department and for the city. We also have one recipient of the scholarship in class right now. So he should be with us in about 8 months to a year. I'm looking forward to that. And we also have some promotional testing coming up. Other than that, it's business as usual.
Okay, you got some beds today too. So
Yes, sir. Thank you.
thanks.
Shout out to the mayor.
Shout out to McKinnon's Furniture for, for definitely helping work with the first responders. So again, thanks to everyone. So again, thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Anything from HR?
Thank you, Mayor. We've got several positions that are posted throughout the city of Palatka to include fire department and police department. I will post on the YouTube chat the various links that they can apply for the position. They can go to the City of Palatka website. It has all of the job listings there. They're also listed on Indeed and Employee Florida.
Okay. Thank you. Anything, Captain Newcomb from the PD?
Yes, not at this time.
Okay. Anything from Finance, Ms. Becker?
No, sir, not tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Cutright, anything with recreation, cultural arts, community affairs, and farm share?
Well, yes, we had Forum Share on Wednesday, a food giveaway. It went well. We gave away, I think, 265. Don't quote me on the number, but it was close to that. It was a wonderful turnout. I want to thank Commissioner Campbell and Commissioner Jones for coming out with support. We had a lot of volunteers, and I think it went well. We had a little fog early in the morning, but I think everything cleared up, and we had a great opportunity. We're looking at doing that quarterly. Right now, we're tentatively set for May, but we might push it up to April, kind of keep it on the quarterly time frame. But more of that information will come out after our back brief with the team that was together. We have this Saturday, we have a golf tournament with Pal and the recreation department. So if you haven't already committed to come and support, please come on out. We kind of full on teams, but I think we're gonna have a great Saturday. The weather looks great. Andy at the golf course has provided us with wonderful swag bag gifts. Me and Miss Thomas has worked diligently with myself and Aaron Hughes and several other people. So looking forward to anybody that want to come out and support. Jonathan Griffin is on my team. So if y'all want some comical laugh, just watch us play.
I heard he's pretty good.
Did you give a time on that, Mr. Cutright?
The time is for volunteers is 7 to 8:30 for setup. For the golfers at 9 o'clock, shotgun start, and we'll go till we finish. We got a box lunch from Subways that will provide the golfers, and we give out first through fourth in prizes.
All right, just make sure you buy your mulligans.
We'll do. We'll do.
All right, so Miss Thomas.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. No, I don't have anything to report other than I filed 4 nuisance abatement cases. 2 of them have contacted me and said they were going to bring their properties in compliance. So we're moving forward with that, and it's going very well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Yule.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of informational items for everybody. The NTSB has finally completed their investigation of the fatal accident we had here back in August of 2018. And they listed the cause that the airplane just stalled. They did not necessarily find any mechanical or any other problems with it. What's come out of it is somebody has put together what appears to be a professional or semi-professional video that you may hear about around town that literally shows the video of the accident. We actually had a surveillance camera pointed in the direction of the accident, and that video has made its way onto YouTube. So you may hear about that out and about. Want you to know about that. The other thing is we are completing what's turned out to be about $130,000 worth of lightning damage that we suffered to our taxiway lighting system on Taxiway Charlie and our weather system. But it's looking good, and that's all I had to say. $130,000.
Mr. Yule, every time I hear you, I hear somebody saying, "Thank you for flying value jet." We're getting preparing for landing.
Thank you. So let's hope we get them out here someday. Thank you, sir.
Just a quick report. Just wanted to share with everybody that we received notification that we were awarded another $1.5 million to address stormwater flooding in 3 locations around the city.
You can say it again. Campbell's clapping so loud, nobody can hear it. So it works. Anything other than that 1.5 million?
Not tonight, sir.
You said enough. Thank you.
What's happening, City Campbell?
Right.
What am I missing? Oh, Miss Fisher. She's unmuted. Miss Fisher? Okay. It's everybody, right? Miss Krantz?
Yes, sir. While Miss Fisher's not listening, February the 2nd will be her birthday.
Okay. And do we have anything?
Mayor, I have Miss Fisher with me.
Miss Fisher, you got something for us?
Well, I have no comments at this time.
Okay, there's a lot of activity going on in Palatka, a lot of new businesses coming around, and Ms. Fisher has been working diligently to increase the standards here in Palatka. And also she's been working with a lot of these businesses. I actually got a raving commendation from Smokey Shaw's and from Anthony Williams for the work that she's done with those 2 businesses and helping them get started. We've got a number of folks who've come in looking to start food trucks and other businesses within the community. And so I think Ms. Fisher's off to a great start here in Palatka. We're excited about having her on board with the team. And so she's a woman of few words on this camera, but she's doing a lot of work here in the community. I think that's every department head. We'll go to the commission at this time. If I miss somebody, let me know because I can't see the full screen. I'll go to Commissioner McCaskill.
Nothing much, but just want to thank staff for the hard work that they're doing. And Ms. Fisher, I know that you're a woman of few words, but I do want to tell you, hope that you have a happy birthday on your birthday. And yeah.
All right, Commissioner Board.
Yes, I want to wish Miss Bernadette happy Miss Fisher happy birthday, just prior to your birthday. Happy pre-birthday. Won't see you on the 2nd probably, so happy birthday. Thank you for the great work that you're doing here with the city. Again, your name is just ringing, and you certainly was a return on the investment that we've made. So we thank you and welcome aboard again. I am part of the Northeast Florida League of Cities Board of Directors. I took Ms. Brown's place as she rolled off, and the commission graciously affirmed that I should be part of that board. And we've met, and we have an opportunity to help grace, I guess, a few, or maybe one organization, a 501(c), a nonprofit organization, with some funds. There's some funds available, and we meet again on the 18th of February. So if I would like my fellow commissioners, the mayor, to if they have a 501(c) 501c3 organization that would like to participate in this, would like to, somebody to provide their website. If they got a 501c3, their number, contact information, and a little bit about the organization. And if at all possible, if I can direct everything to Sonny Krantz, if that's okay, Sonny. And you can reach Sonny Krantz at S as in Sam, K as in Kilo, R as in Romeo, A as in Apple, N as in Nancy, T as in Tango, Z as in Zebra at palatka-fl.gov. And you could send all your information there. And I would like for the organizations to send their information in by the 12th. That'll be the cutoff date that so we can get that information in. The commission, you guys can vote on whatever comes in at that time. I've already submitted one organization, but you guys can submit and vote on the organizations that come in to sign it by that time, and y'all can come up with it. I'm just going to refrain from voting on it. I'll let y'all do it. Okay, and so that's what we have, and I'm looking forward to seeing those come in. So, and they have to be active. We got to have active 501c3. So, other than that, that's all I had, and I want to thank the staff for the great work that they're doing, especially with the reopening of with special events and different things of that nature. Thank the staff for the hard work they're doing with continuously getting grants as we are financially strapped as it relates to just only ad valorem. So again, I'd like to thank the staff for all the hard work they're doing. That's all I have.
Mr. Campbell.
Not too much, but I personally want to thank Farm Share for continuously pouring into this community and those that took part of that Heart and Soul Youth, City of Palatka Police, and the Calvary Missionary Baptist Church. We're forever grateful. It was a great turnout. Over 200 and something families received goods on yesterday. Yesterday. So we're eternally grateful for that. Kudos to our staff who continuously make this city shine with the work that they're putting forth. Also, happy birthday to Ms. Fisher. We hope you have a great one.
And in closing, got an opportunity to go out with our Public Works Department, as well as General Services and Community Affairs, over to Booker Park to look at the John Henry Pop Lloyd Sports Complex, a project that's been worked on for the last few years, headed up by Mandy Tucker and Jonathan Griffith. And I'm really excited as we move into February. Many people don't know who John Henry Pop Lloyd is, but he's the grandfather of the Negro League, who was inducted into Cooperstown. He's a native of Palatka, and he is one of the few people, he's the only person from this community that's in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. And we just want to make sure that we commemorate our Palatka native. We've got plans to go to Kansas City to the Negro League Committee to gain additional funding for the project, because it's the only project in this region besides his final hometown of Atlantic City that has anything to really commemorate John Henry Pop Lloyd and the legacy that he created by bringing ball players such as Lefty Turner back to the Negro League. And so we're really excited about it. John Henry Pop Lloyd played in the major leagues until he was in his 50s, and this guy was phenomenal. And so he was known to be the Black Honus Wagner, because Honus Wagner is considered to be the greatest shortstop of all time. And Honus Wagner said that he, in fact, was flattered to be compared to John Henry Pop Lloyd. They asked Babe Ruth, who's the best baseball player he's ever played against, and he said, in the major leagues or all around. And they said, of all time. And he said, Pop Lloyd. And so when Babe Ruth and Honus Wagner say that you're the greatest, it's an honor. And he was the greatest because he was a Palatkan. That's my message for the day. We'll continue to honor those as the gem of the St. John's continues to shine. We'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.